All right, let's talk about the new Netflix documentary. I'll tell you why I'm doing the air quotes, called Inside the Manosphere by Louis Theroux. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I've never heard of him before. Now, I didn't want to watch it because I've seen plenty of hit pieces on the red pill community and Manosphere and all that stuff. They're always one-sided. And this one was, but let's start with the fact that this is not really much of a documentary. Documentaries usually kind of dig deep into the cause and effect, and even the biased ones try to get the other side and stuff like that. This guy decided that he's just going to kind of interview top 5, I guess, most famous Andrew Tate duplicates, influencers in a manosphere. I've never heard of a couple of them at all. And that's it. That's the manosphere. Now, obviously, it is not. The manosphere really consists of regular men like you and I who don't have big followings or any followings, who are just trying to date women and trying to maybe create families, marry one, or just trying to get laid. And things are very, very weird at the very least, but now we kind of made sense of it all. There are a lot of nuances. Some of them are men's rights based, and that's why they should have interviewed guys like Paul Elam, who's been on this show a few times, who is the most prominent men's rights advocate, who links that to dating and what's happening with Manosphere right now. They interviewed none of the normal guys who actually make sense, like Peterson, for example, who I know is not well right now, and I hope he recovers soon. But and I know a lot of just average influencers who don't have a huge following, who do care about men and men's rights and what's happening with men and boys and stuff like that. But they interviewed none of them. They just interviewed this really crazy, mainly assholes who admitted that they're not really trying to help men. They're just trying to get clicks and get as rich as they can. And the women, a lot of times, that they had around were exactly the women that they tell you guys not to date, OnlyFans girls with tattoos and fake boobs. And, at one point in time, that the documentary guy, Louis, he asked one of the girls, like, what do you like the most about, I think this guy's name is TK, just complete fucking douchebag. And she's like, money, I mean, that's not what Manosphere is. This is not what most influencers and guys who are trying to help other men, including on this channel, that's not what we want. We want men to date good traditional women, not the hoes. We don't want men simping and paying OnlyFans girls and sending Cash App payments to like Instagram models. This is the opposite of what help is for men nowadays. So, this is essentially so I felt like I was forced to watch these 5 guys' content without wanting to watch it, and I don't really like it. And, for me, I concentrate on this channel mainly on dating, and there wasn't much about dating. There hasn't been, anything about why all of a sudden this manosphere was created. What is happening between men and women, why there are passport bros, why there are incels, why there's MGTOW. All of these essentially categories of men that was just not even mentioned. And, and I'm assuming it's because if they did, they wouldn't really have their agenda addressed, which is, man bad, because if you do talk to some normal folks like, me and other influencers that I know, just regular guys, they'll know that, and research what's happening with women and all of that stuff, the documentary would look very much different. But if the purpose of the documentary was to kind of like say, see, strong men bad, then yes, you have to go through to these douchebags who don't give a shit about men, quite toxic, generally speaking. A lot of them are not very smart, like this guy, Myron of Fresh and Fit. He didn't even warn his crew that the documentary was here. He didn't even warn his girlfriend at that time, who broke up with him like months after that, that they're coming in, and at least prepared them to say, okay, we have a documentary. This is not a friendly documentary, so either don't talk to them. And why bring your girlfriend into a documentary in general? I mean, if you're a good man, you shouldn't have your, even if you're just casually dating, you shouldn't have those girls on camera. Like, I've never brought my ex-girlfriend or any of the girls that I'm seeing on camera, because I don't want that for them, no matter what my relationship with them is, even if it's the most casual one of them all. These guys, unfortunately, are toxic. And I'm ashamed to a lot of times tell people that I'm, red pill or I'm Manosphere, because they think about like Andrew Tate and other, assholes who are also, homophobic and anti-Semitic and super religious and super pro-Trumpy. And, that's another thing is like, listen, this is not a political channel. I don't involve politics. I'm an independent myself. I don't like Trump. I don't like Kamala Harris, like equally, okay? But I just did a Trump thing accidentally. All right. But, if you are like gonna preach, which a lot of them do, that you gotta vote for Trump because he is pro-men, no, that's just not true, factually. I would have voted for Trump if he was that pro-man, but I know that the only thing before becoming president this time, the first term, the only thing that he did was actually something really bad. He signed a bill that was anti-men bill, at least contained something that really damaged men and alimony specifically. Now, a lot of you are watching, even probably Trump supporters, go like, Alex, I don't know what you're talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about, because you listen to these assholes and they tell you something that's not true. Just because, somebody goes to a bunch of men's podcasts doesn't mean he's pro-man. He's just, basically pandering for your votes. Go look at the voting record. Go look at what bills he signed. And he signed a pretty devastating bill. And I'm not going to tell you what it is. Go fucking Google and ChatGPT it yourself. Learn how to educate yourself on the issues if you don't know what it is. So, they're pro-Trump, which again does not help men in any way. I haven't seen him do anything pro-man so far, as far as the president is concerned. If he did, I would absolutely be praising him. I have no problems praising Donald Trump if he did something and when he does something right. But this is not one of those times, unfortunately. I did have some hope that he might maybe change some marriage laws and punishments and all of that stuff, but so far, nothing. But anyway, I digress. There was this one guy who I've seen before. I don't remember his name, but he has a wife and kids and a kid on the way, and he's in the perfect, he's a non-monogamous relationship, though she doesn't seem like she wants to be with other men, but he's with other women. And honestly, that's really how things should be, especially if you're a smart girl. And this girl goes like, I don't care, like, as long as he uses protection and as long as it comes back home to me. I mean, he's a dude, he's a famous, rich, good-looking dude. So yeah, I'd rather have a family with him and let him do it once in a while. And smart girl, she's a happy housewife. So that was kind of like a positive story, I thought. Though he, of course, tried to destroy it and talk to the wife. Again, I don't know why the guy wanted the wife on, his wife on camera. I think that's stupid. You should keep your family away from all of this bullshit, even if you are part of it. So, and at the end of the day, it was nothing about what the real issues are between men and women. It was nothing even mentioned. If you just watch this documentary, which a lot of people did, because not that they watched it, a lot of people who don't know anything about what's happening in the real world, mainly married people, if this is the only thing that they see, they're like, oh yeah, this is toxic bullshit. And like I said, I'm ashamed to kind of having to be part of this thing. I wish we kind of had our own thing where only the influencers who genuinely care about men and boys and try to help them would be there, rather than toxic assholes who are, preaching their religion or their political views just to make money and clicks. I mean, some of it got really bad. Some of it got into some like violence, and I mean, it was disgusting. A lot of this stuff was really disgusting, and I'm not at all on board with that. So unfortunately, this documentary, one, wasn't a documentary. Like I said, it wasn't much research. And secondly, I mean, you can just go and watch this dude's content on their channels if you want to. That's the documentary. Now, one thing that he did that I thought was actually the only thing that he did right, he basically signed up with one of the like investment accounts that one of these guys like TK promotes, and he basically put like 500 pounds, I think, British pounds in it, and at the end of the day, he had less than 200 left, showing that, you know, these guys are not even promoting good products to their audience. They don't give a shit, as long as, like, they don't give a shit that their audience loses money on the shitty products that they promote, which, by the way, you know, this guy Louis checked and he said it's had horrible ratings of performance, and no wonder he lost money at the end of it. And, you know, they don't care. These guys don't care about their own audience, even though they'll high-five them and take selfies with them because they would get recognized during the filming of this documentary. And it's like, these are the people you're fucking over, like, just not only with bad advice, but with money. So at the end of the day, now here's an interesting note. I actually, my Thai teacher here, who teaches me Thai, you know, she had an assignment in her school to watch a documentary and analyze it. And before even I watched it, she watched it as part of her homework, and she said, yeah, you know, regardless of what I might think about all this Manosphere thing, I just didn't think it was a good documentary. It just wasn't a documentary at all. It was just kind of like some guy making a YouTube video about other guys he may not like, you know? So, and I agree with her now that I watched it. So, you know, you can be a judge yourself. By the way, there is no surprise that Netflix wanted to make a, you know, con piece on anything man-related, because remember, Netflix has a record of this, including essentially canceling, forgot the guy's name, who got accused, this British crazy guy who got accused of sexual assault or something like that, with absolutely no evidence, you know, whatsoever, and Netflix just canceled his show. And essentially, Netflix has become part of the problem, where a woman can accuse a man of anything that they want with absolutely no evidence and destroy a man's life. And companies like Netflix, they're essentially part of the problem. They're encouraging these women. They're giving them a platform to do this to men. I wish that would be in a documentary, right? So no surprise that this has been commissioned by Netflix. It kind of delivered everything in terms of, like, they really wanted to hate on men, on strong men, on masculinity, and they did, except for they just hired somebody who did a really good job. Did not do a good job at all. So check it out. Let me know in the comment section if you already watched it and what you think of it. And if you are part of a Manosphere or you consume Manosphere content, tell me who your favorite influencer is and why. If you're a single guy and you're still dating, well, let me help you out when it comes to analyzing dating profiles. All you have to do is take snapshots of a dating profile of a girl you're interested in and upload it into this ChatGPT app called the Dating Profile Analyzer. It is free, and it will give you all the green, yellow, and most importantly, red flags about that profile. You're welcome.